I'm just gonna, so let me know once it is ready. Yeah. And I think I'm just gonna make it for you. Okay, great. So I think now I'm gonna show you some settings here on a Bollinger band. You can change the number of days. So 60 days is like 3 months. So you can. This is how it looks. Let's look at Dr. Reddy's how it looks like. Let's look at Metropolis. So you are looking it over a different. Now the band has contracted and is expanding. So because the stock has been falling for almost last 60 days, you would want to, nothing gives you an accurate measurement. All you would like to do is play around with the settings. So I have changed the settings because I love looking at 60 days of data, right? I don't want to be color blinded. I don't want to be blindfolded by 20 days of data. I just want to look at 60 days of data and see how it looks very, very different. Now the stock is very bullish, as you can see, and possibly it may continue rising because it is supported by volume. Now, Premji, do you see how this the whole view changes? I have just played around with the number of days. Will I take a decision basis Ramco Cement only if I have done my study properly, and if I feel that I should be long on this one, then what is the target you can have? So you can also target as the upper side of the band as your target. That's one. Now, if I were to look at a smaller volatility, assuming that I think this is not possible, maybe I just want to look at, say, one standard deviation. What is one standard deviation? Again, I would plot this on normal standard deviation. This is your average point on the data. If you have a normal data, which will look into advanced options class that we are looking at. So when you look at, say, theta data or gamma data, you'll see this kind of a plot being populated by the Excel. So this is average, and all you're saying is when you do plus minus one, you're saying that I am only looking at 68% of the chance as to what is going to happen in 68% of the chance. So this represents 34% of the data minus one step this side and plus one step, it represents another 34% of the data. Total, it represents 68% of the data. It basically means that what's going to happen in 68% of the cases. Will it rain on Monday in 68% of the case, or is there a probability of rain? And you'll say yes, there is a 68% chance. That means you're talking about plus minus one standard deviation. So I have reduced. I want to cut down on my losses. I don't want to look at plus minus 2. Why I don't want to look at plus minus 2? That is a question that you'll ask yourself. And I will show you the data here. I'll prove it using the data point that if you're looking at plus, so I'll take the readings, say plus one standard deviation, plus two standard deviation, minus one standard deviation, and minus two standard deviation. So if you're looking at the data right now, this is plus minus one standard deviation, plus standard deviation, it tells you that 774 roughly approx is the upper band. The lower band is probably 681. If you look at plus minus 2 standard deviation, which is the default setting for this one, just give me one moment, please. And if I do this 2, you will see how thick the band becomes, and the data becomes 820 and 634. But my target is not that huge because the stock price is at 742. From 742 to 820 is a long journey, and even this is a farther journey on the downside. So I am looking at what happens in 68% of the case, and when the stock has only to move about 30 bucks. What happens on the lower side when the stock has to move? Uh, so this is 40 and this is about 60 bucks here. So I am only looking at that one. The average point is this one. So you'll wonder why there is the gap here is 40 and why the gap here is roughly about 60. It is because the average point is not 742. The average is the orange one that you're seeing here, which is 727. So I hope that solves your issue. I think for me, If I'm doing an ultra short term trade, 20, $30 is something that I look at and I close that point. So I am looking at only 774, only 20, $30 I want to make. And in that case, now I will evaluate all the other positions that I have, whether I can make money in those cases or not. I think in this case, I have seen a great fall, and now I am seeing possibly uh, this is pointed upwards. So it is possible that it turns upward and expands. That is one. The second possibility is that this remains at this one and the stock moves from here to here. Even in this case, given the volume, I think the setup to me looks okay. I would want to use this one. Ramco Cements, I may not be very comfortable with Ramco Cements here. If I'm looking at, say, Lal Path Lab, let's look at this one, right? And for me, because I'm using a 60 days data, I think this has already touched the upper band. And if I am a low risk taker, it has already touched the upper band. It is possible that the stock goes $100, $200, 500 from here, but I am not willing to take the risk because it has already touched the upper band. If you want to notice the sell pressure here, if you want to notice the sell pressure here, every time it has touched the upper band, there is a sell pressure available here. So I don't want to take that risk. So this is not suitable for me. So I'm not going to trade on this one, right? Likewise for Marico. But if you look at, say, Metropolis, this could just be the start of the journey. So what manipulations we've done, we've looked at 60 days of data. So we are really looking at a little longer period, which makes the data, I think, as I would want to put, uh, I mean, the more data set you have, the better it is. The longer duration you have, the more observations you have. It is closer to the population. It's not just a sample size. It's closer to the population in terms of statistics, statistical terminology. And I have reduced my possibilities to only 68%. I am seeing, give me small possibilities. I really not focusing on bigger possibilities. So give me one step how it can move, how does it look, and one step back, how does it look, how much can I lose. If you remember this, I said from, if it falls, if we were looking at Tanla, while we are looking at $40 on the upside, remember if it falls to 680, there is a $60 loss. So you will also have to look at the risk to reward ratio, whether this is suitable or not. So from the level 742, it can go to 782 or levels, but it can fall to 680. So risk reward ratio you have to check. And I think this tool can also be used as a risk reward ratio. And I don't think anyone will talk about this one using Bollinger band as a risk reward ratio. No one in this world I've ever heard about talking about this. So you have to think of this as a risk reward ratio. Think how this can possibly impact you, because if the stock hits the lower end in a day, it can fall from the existing price 1523 to 1339, or it can move to 1580 to $50 from here. So there is a lot of risk if it goes to this one. Is this risk suitable or not is something that you would want to look at. So you will look at risk reward ratio also if you're analyzing a particular stock. Let's go to Dr. Reddy's and let's look whether it makes sense. It's been in an upward move, very close to its average also. Does the risk reward ratio state that I can make some, is it suitable? So let's look at this one. So it is saying almost about, so if it is 4200, you'll have 300. So it is roughly about 250 rupees from here. And the lower end is about 200 rupees from here. So it is a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. If it goes on the upper side, you will gain about 200 or 250 odd rupees. So from 4265, it is saying it will go to 4500. So roughly about 20 to 150 rupees on the upside. And if it falls from 40 to 50 odd rupees, it can possibly come down to, it's almost a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. So I think this is a very intelligent method of looking at the risk reward ratio. No one talks about it. But the standard deviation is all about what steps, one step ahead, how does the price look like, one step back, how does the price look like, and how we can make money. This is a very powerful tool, but never used intelligently. People just follow this one uh, and get caught thinking that this will continue to rise, as you have seen in some of the cases, like this is a continuous fall like this one. But I think there are smarter ways to look at this one rather than getting caught in this kind of very simple and naive usage of the tool. Sarvanaji, I think we can stop here.